welcome to the Film Spark podcast. Today I come to you with a list of 10 disturbing films. Some you may know, some you may not, but I can assure there's something for everyone who desires to dive deep into the disturbing side of cinema. So with that being said, in no particular order, let's get going. And safe to say, multiple trigger warnings ahead. Coming in at number 10 is Murder Set Pieces. Murder Set Pieces is a 2004 American horror film written, produced and directed by Nick Palumbo. The film stars Sven Garrett and features cameos from horror icons such as Gunnar Hansen, Serena Vincent and Tony Todd. The film follows a wealthy immigrant serial killer, a German photographer who leads a double life. By day he shoots erotic photos and by night he rapes, tortures and murders prostitutes. In comparison with the theatrical cut of the trailer, the R-rated DVD version was missing approximately 22 minutes. Most of the cuts were to obtain the R rating and removed several intense scenes of sexualized violence and torture. However, some scenes were also removed by the director himself, which he intended to edit out of the film before going into theaters, but never got a chance. The British Board of Film Classification refused to give a certificate to the film, making its release in the UK illegal. It cited unacceptable scenes of sexual or sex behaviour accompanied by non-consensual pain, injury and humiliation, with particular concern that young children are among those terrorised and killed. If you love your blood and gore with a side of cinema, then Murder Set Pieces is the one for you. Coming in at number 9 is The Seasoning House. The Seasoning House of the title is a Balkan's brothel. It's 1996 and young girls are being kidnapped during military attacks and sold to the owner of the Seasoning House. One such girl named Angel, a deaf and mute sufferer who the house owner takes a shine to and uses her as his assistant. When Angel strikes up a friendship with one of the girls, it is the catalyst for violence unbound. A thoroughly bleak and distressing viewing experience, but in turn it's bold and brilliant filmmaking. Debut director Paul Hyatt paints a grim portrait of an all-too-real problem in certain parts of the world, but thankfully he never once lets the material slip into exploitation territory. Coming in at number 8 is In a Glass Cage. In a Glass Cage is a 1986 Spanish horror film written and directed by Augusti Villaronga and starring Gunter Meisner, Marissa Paredes, and David Sust. Inspired by the history of Gilles de Rais, the plot follows an ex-Nazi child molester who is now paralyzed and depending on an iron lung. A young man claiming to be his new caretaker reveals himself as one of the Nazis' former victims and forces him to watch while he reenacts his tormentor's crime. I think the plot says it all really. Dark, disturbing, and can be very hard to watch. In a Glass Cage is not one for the faint of heart. For number 7 is Angel's Melancholy. Angel's Melancholy is a 2009 German independent exploitation horror film, directed, shot and edited by Marion Dora and co-written by Dora and Carsten Frank. It received polarizing reviews with some praise towards the cinematography, but most condemned it as hardcore exploitation with repetitive and meaningless depravity communicating its nihilistic message. The plot follows two friends who meet again to share their last days in an old house where everything happened a long time ago. They gather a group of people which results in a disastrous turn of events during which reveals the deepest human depths. This won't be for everyone. A common theme amongst reviews of this film is it's boring, and although I can agree it's a tad too long, I do find calling it boring is a tad unfair. It's visually stunning and dives into many issues with a lot of subtext. However, be warned, there is animal cruelty and much more in this film. There is some of the most revolting gore ever captured on screen, along with various scenes of sexual perversion bordering on hardcore porn. This is truly unforgiving and deplorable journey into perversion and death. At number 6 is Grotesque, and a director whose name you may recognize, as the director of this Japanese sick fest is the same director better known for The Curse of Noroi. However, don't go into this expecting the same kind of film. Whereas Noroi was a slow burn mockumentary film about a curse that haunts a village, Grotesque is exactly that. Grotesque. About a doctor who has everything in life starting to get bored, he develops a taste and want for more extremity in his life. He kidnaps a young couple and keeps them to torture them, making them wonder will they ever truly make it out alive. Throw in a little bit of black comedy now and then, Grotesque is one a little easier to watch on the list. However, it still lives up to its name. Smack bang in the middle of the list is The Life and Death of a Porno Gang. The Life and Death of a Porno Gang is a 2009 Serbian film. No, not that Serbian film. But it follows Marko, an unsuccessful director that begins filming with Kane, a porn director, after he finds himself unable to successfully shoot his own films. Through these films, Marko finds an outlet for the anger he feels towards society, as well as a new group of friends in the porn industry. Marko eventually has a falling out with Kane and starts his own porn cabaret club. An initially positive beginning turns sour when Kane's brother interrupts a film premiere, resulting in the press destroying Marko and his club. Marko debates leaving the city, but is approached by a German journalist who suggests that Marko begin making snuff films instead. Coming in at number 4 is rather a trilogy instead of just one solo film. This is because I couldn't choose just one out of the trilogy, as they all intertwine to make the one whole. Known as the Bad Family Trilogy comes Mother is a Whore, Father is a Dog, and I Am Trash, a South Korean film series by Lee Sung-woo. Starting with Mother is a Whore being the first installment from 2009, it follows Sung-woo, who is HIV positive, lives with his 60-year-old mother in a small hut, abandoned by his father, Jung-il, who left his mother for a younger woman. Sung-woo has no choice but to work as a pimp to his beloved mother to make a living. The second installment, Father is a Dog, from 2010, follows a father who brings a 19-year-old Chinese boy to a house where he lives with his 3 sons. The father sleeps with the Chinese boy on the bed where their mother used to sleep, and the father, Chinese boy, and his 3 sons begin to live together. The father exploits the Chinese boy sexually and abuses his 3 sons. And for the final installment comes I Am Trash. After their father was sent off to prison for sexually assaulting an underage girl, Sung-woo and his 2 brothers Sung-tae and Sung-gu struggle to live a normal life. Now the 3 emotionally damaged brothers must deal with the aftermath of their father returning home after his release from prison. In at number 3 is The Whispering of the Gods, the 2005 film based off the book of the same name. The film follows Rue, who returns to the rural seminary farm where he studied as a boy and was molested by priests. Rue has recently had a history of violence, and he brings his anger to the seminary, triggering a series of atrocities within the seemingly peaceful retreat. Indeed, much of Whispering consists of sequences of sexual perversion that allow Moroi to comment on the cycle of abuse and how the distortion of sexuality and spirituality can create hell on earth. Coming in at number 2 is Chained, dialing back the disturbing factor quite a bit compared to the others. This is a more commonly known film, which follows the story of a young man held prisoner by a cab-driving serial killer who must make a life or death choice between following in his captor's footsteps or breaking free. Starring Vincent D'Onofrio and Julia Ormond, Chained is one not to pass up on. Another one more commonly known, however, being an Australian myself, it seemed just unjust if I didn't bring this to the forefront. Coming in at number 1 is this absolute classic, Bad Boy Bubby. Bad Boy Bubby is a 1993 black comedy Australian film written and directed by Rolf de Heer and starring Nicholas Hope, Claire Benito, Rolf Cotterill, and Carmel Johnson. Hope stars as the titular character, a mentally challenged man who has been held captive in his home by his abusive mother for his entire life. The storyline follows his escape from confinement and subsequent journey of self-discovery. The film was shot on a low budget in Adelaide and is an international co-production between Australia and Italy. This classic Aussie film will take you on a roller coaster of emotions. You will feel uplifted, joyous, and 2 minutes later disgusted and dirty. And although the ending is a bit predictable, the film still leaves you feeling satisfied overall. It is truly hard to convey into words, this film, so go see if you can find a copy, as it's worth the effort of watching. This brings us to the end of the video. 10 disturbing films to tickle your disturbing funny bone. I hope you enjoyed and possibly added some newbies to your watch list. My name is Ebony, and this has been the Film Spark Podcast. Thank you for listening.